Welcome to Friday. The day that everything seems to have been pointing to has arrived. It's hard to say when this day begins. For our purposes, we will begin in the dark of the Garden of Gethsemane, as Judas leads an armed crowd with swords and clubs to the location where Jesus has gone to pray. The God of all power, the one who created this world and everything in it, will be arrested and subject to the most simple of forces and weapons. Judas betrays him with a kiss, and Jesus submits to his captors. This will not end without a fight. John's Gospel tells us that it was Peter who drew a sword and struck someone on the ear. Jesus not only tells Peter to put his sword away, but also heals the wounded servant. Jesus stated that if he wanted to, that he could have asked the Father and he would have given him 12 legions of angels. As the disciples flee, Jesus is led before the Sanhedrin, while Peter follows behind at a distance. As Jesus is accused by an array of false witnesses, he remains silent. The charges range from him saying that he would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. He admits to their charge that he claimed to be the Christ, the Son of the living God. Convinced that they have established a charge of blasphemy that would, to their minds and laws, be worthy of death, they prepared to take him before Pilate for the execution of such a sentence. Meanwhile, Peter has been sitting in the courtyard, monitoring the events from a supposed safe distance. By the time the rooster crows that early morning, Peter has disowned Jesus, denying that he even knew him 3 separate times. At this point, Peter leaves the courtyard and weeps bitterly. As dawn breaks, Jesus is led before Pilate. As Pilate briefly questions him, he discovers that Jesus is from Galilee, making him the subject of Herod, who is in Jerusalem for the Passover. Pilate sends Jesus to Herod, thinking that he has passed the buck on this responsibility. Herod is unconcerned about the whole situation and is only hopeful of seeing some miracle for his own amusement. Failing in that attempt, he sends Jesus back to Pilate. Pilate believes that Jesus is innocent of any capital crime and deserves to be released. He proposes to punish Jesus and let him go, but this only angers the Jewish leaders. When given the choice to have Jesus or Barabbas, a notorious murderer, released, they chose Barabbas. When asked what they wanted done with Jesus, they cried, "Crucify him." Pilate then takes a basin and towel and washed his hands in front of the crowd, signifying that he wished to be innocent of this man's blood and that they would bear the responsibility. The crowd shouted, "Let his blood be upon us and our children." Barabbas was released, and Jesus was turned over to be crucified. The soldiers took Jesus, stripped him of his clothes, and placed a purple robe upon him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and pressed it into his head. They knelt before him, mocking him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They spit upon him and struck him with a staff. Having completed their mockery, they led him away to be crucified. Taking Jesus to Golgotha, they hung him on a cross between 2 thieves. Above his head was placed a sign which listed the charge, "Jesus, King of the Jews." The crowds that passed by hurled insults, and the chief priest mocked him as well. From about noon until 3 in the afternoon, the sky became dark. At about this point, Jesus cries out from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Soon afterward, he declared, "It is finished, and Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit." And he died. Several things happened around Jerusalem at that moment. There was a great earthquake, and rocks broke. Graves opened, and people were raised to life. In the temple, the veil that separated the holy place from the Holy of Holies was torn in 2 from top to bottom. The Roman centurion who was in charge of supervising the crucifixion was terrified and declared, "Surely he was the Son of God." I wonder what those 12 legions of angels are doing now. Welcome to Friday.